for today's video, I am going to be talking about something that has been highly requested. I mentioned it a couple of videos ago and people have really been asking for it ever since. So I wanted to get this up and I guess just like the title says, without a weird awkward intro, this is going to be how YouTube and working online became my job, and hopefully I can explain how, if you're interested in doing the same, how you could make that like come to life for you as well. Hopefully this won't be a crazy long video. It's been a really crazy year and a half, so I'm gonna try to fit as much in a short amount of time as possible. And if you guys have any more questions or want me to elaborate on things, let me know in the comment section down below, because I might continue to make more videos on this and questions that you guys have and editing things and stuff like that. So I guess I'm just going to jump right in. So I guess to explain to you how I even got started on YouTube, I need to kind of back up and explain kind of where I'm coming from, like my past. For those of you that don't know, I actually worked as like an actress, singer, dancer for like 10 years in like professionally. I've done it my whole life, but I did it for my job for about 10 years, and that ranged from everything from being in shows, like theater shows. I did a lot of theater, a lot of stage stuff, to random commercials, independent films, and to probably the biggest chunk, I taught dance for about 5 years, and that was a really like pivotal point in my life. Is pivotal the right word? It was a defining point in my life. When I was 14, my mom was like, okay, time for you to get a job. And I was like, well, Mom, I'm 14, no one's gonna hire me. And she was like, time to figure it out. And so we had an extra room in our house that wasn't really being used, so I came up with the idea of teaching dance out of my parents' house. And my parents are super supportive, they always have been, and so they ended up changing that room into like a dance room. It's not a huge room, but it's like the size of my office, of this closet room. So they converted that over for me, and I started teaching dance in there. And the way that I did it was I advertised to homeschoolers at homeschool conventions and stuff like that. Not conventions, but like meetups and stuff. I was homeschooled, and that was the like group that I really targeted, because I was teaching classes during the day when homeschoolers are in school. So the point of that story is that period in my life really taught me how to make money out of nothing, if that makes sense. Not nothing, because I have my parents' support and I realize that that's like invaluable, but it taught me how to figure out how to make money. So fast forward, about 2.5 years ago, I got the opportunity to go to Singapore with Universal Studios. I had worked in the theme park out here. It sounds way more glamorous when I just say with Universal Studios. Not that glamorous. I worked with the theme park out here, and I was doing stage stuff for their theme park, and the guy that directed that show, he actually contacted me and was like, hey, I got a job in Singapore, do you want to come over and be a part of the opening cast? And it's funny because Universal was actually another really like defining point in my life as well, for multiple reasons. A, that guy that brought me over to Singapore taught me so much. I don't know if I'm able to say his name on the internet, but Gregory Berkheimer, he taught me so much, and I learned a lot about production and kind of, not fine-tuning because I'm still learning all the time, but like kind of fine-tuning. I had learned how to put together shows when I was teaching dance, but working for him really like made a lot of stuff more clear for me, because he's really good at producing shows. So I jumped on the opportunity to go to Singapore with him because he's so talented. I was like, of course, I want to come learn more. So, and it's Singapore. So Dan and I gave up everything. He quit his job, we got rid of our cars, we got rid of everything, and we moved to Singapore. Now, in our heads, we thought we were gonna be living in Singapore for like 2 years, and then we were gonna come home and buy a house and have our little life or whatever. But when we got to Singapore, long story short, I ended up re-injuring my knee. I had had an injury before that hadn't healed fully. I thought it had, but it re-injured itself in Singapore, and it ended up setting me like down. I couldn't work. So after 8 months of being there, we turned around and we came home to nothing. So we moved back in with my parents, and because dancing at that point was out of the picture and I had done that for 10 years, I was like, dude, what am I gonna do with my life? Like, the only reason I had ever managed to consistently work as a performer, because that's kind of a hard field to get consistent work, but I pretty much always had, and the only reason I had was because I could do all three. I could act and sing and dance, but if you take away one of those, I wasn't super strong in one, and you know, it's like I wasn't, it made me not as employable in my opinion. So it was harder to find work and I didn't know what to do. So when I came home I was like, well, I guess I'll pursue the acting thing, but I didn't really tell everyone around me that I didn't really want to do it. I just didn't know what to do. So we lived at my parents' house and he was like, Dan was like, okay, well you can pursue acting and once you're making money in that, then we'll move out. And it was scary because I knew deep in my heart, I was like, I don't want to do this. Like, I hate the whole, like, scene in LA, like the whole audition scene, and it's just not my thing. So I was doing it, but it wasn't really what I was doing. So that was a really, really long intro, but I feel like you need to kind of know my past to know kind of where everything is coming from and why I do some of the things that I do in my videos, and I feel like it'll kind of make some stuff clearer. So basically, during that timeline while I was taking acting classes and getting representation and all that stuff, I kind of started watching more YouTube videos. I was never really super into YouTube, but Dan was. And the reason I started watching YouTube, and this is where I know it sounds weird, guys, but was because one day in the middle of July, I felt like God told me that I needed to be on YouTube. Out of nowhere. Like I said, I wasn't super into YouTube. I just felt that and I was like, what am I gonna do on YouTube? Like, what am I gonna do? And so I made a video and I uploaded it in July, and it was like a nail polish collection video or something like that, and I took it down 5 minutes later. I was like, this is so embarrassing, it's so stupid, I can't do YouTube. So, but because of that, I started watching other YouTube videos. I started watching Ingrid, Fleur, Anna Saccone. I started watching all these people, and it was just kind of fun to me. So in September, I tried to upload again, and 5 minutes later, I took it down. I was so embarrassed. So fast forward to December, and I was driving in the car one day and I was listening to Dave Ramsey, who's a financial advisor. He has a talk show, and Shay Carl called in, and I literally turned on the radio when Shay Carl called into the show. And the reason he was calling in was because on Fridays on Dave Ramsey, they do a like I got out of debt show where you call in and you say, following your plan, I got out of debt. And Shay Carl called in with this whole, and you call in like with your family and you all yell like, we're out of debt or whatever. So he called in and they were, Dave Ramsey was talking to him and he was like, so what do you do? And Shay Carl was like, it's kind of complicated. I make videos, I work online. And I was sitting there, I'm like thinking about it, I get chills right now because it was so weird that I turned the radio on right when he called in. So after the phone call that he had with Dave Ramsey, I was like, this is so weird. Turn the radio off. And I was like, dude, I can't even ignore this. I can't get away from this YouTube thing. Keeping in mind, I didn't know anyone that did YouTube. It was all like unknown terrain to me. So I got home and I ended up uploading, and I was like, I'm just not gonna tell anyone. The reason I had taken it down before was because I was so embarrassed of people making fun of me or trying to give me their criticisms, and then I'd feel so stupid. I'd want to take it down and I wouldn't want to try again. So I was like, I'm just not gonna tell anyone and do it for myself. So I put it up, and I am the kind of person that like, well, first off, I put it up and I fell in love immediately, and I was like, wow, this is so cool. And I'm the kind of person that once I start to like something or I think something is cool, I start researching it. So I started doing a lot of research, and this is where the kind of story begins on how I built my YouTube.